Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Amber Reese, and welcome to another episode of Sound Off. Today's episode is Tragedy Over Triumph. As some of us may know, September is Spinal Cord Awareness Month. Every year around the world, there are 250,000 people and 500,000 people that suffer a spinal cord injury every year. For those that may not know what a spinal cord injury is, it is damage to the spinal cord and the nerves of the spinal canal. Here to share his inspiring story on how he used triumph over tragedy, please help me welcome CEO of More Than Walking, Jonathan Sigworth. Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
Hey, Amber. I'm doing great. Great to be here on your show.
Yes, great. So, you ready to get started?
I am all set.
Okay, so take us back to that exact moment of your accident. Like, what happened and how did that affect you mentally and physically?
So, my accident happened when I was 19 years old. It was 2006. I just graduated high school. I'm from Hamden, Connecticut. And I went to study abroad in India for a semester before starting university at Wesleyan. And I was riding a bicycle very irresponsibly on a narrow walking path in the mountains of northern India, lost control of my bicycle running late to class, and fell 70 feet,
Wow.
landing on my head unconscious next to the only hospital on the mountainside. So I shouldn't be here today, but I was extremely lucky to have had my rehab there and for the first 5 weeks really understand that my injury, didn't just happen to me, but it happens to people all around the world who had, many of whom, the majority of whom, have very few resources with which to deal with it. I knew I was going back to college. I knew as an American that I was going to go back to excellent medical care, excellent rehab. My first friends in wheelchairs that I had met in Delhi, India, didn't have those options, and so
Wow.
I was very aware of that from the very beginning. And then, I'm a C7 complete quadriplegic, so I have no use of my fingers. I have limited triceps and no sensation of movement below my arms, but I've learned how to be completely independent. And I'm married now for several years, and I'm working full time. So physically, the effects, were manageable.
Right.
Mentally, though, it's more complex as time goes on.
Right. Right. Okay. So, when you did the More Than Walking documentary back in 2017, when did you realize that the documentary could be something more?
Well, it was the documentary itself was part of a number of projects trying to solve a singular problem, which, as I said, I saw when I was in India, which was how do you convince people who are surrounded by friends, family, society that doesn't believe that they can live independently? How do you convince them that it's possible and also make it possible? How do you motivate and show that reality? So I came back from India kind of wrestling with that. What can I do? What can I do as a 19-year-old, as a freshman at college, to make a big difference? And I had gotten involved in wheelchair rugby, which was a full contact wheelchair sport. It's very aggressive, completely, demolishes the stereotypes
Right,
of
kind of sort of like how they do in England, like full on, full rugby, right?
Yeah, no, I mean it's full contact. It's
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I'm sure that must have been fun.
Oh, it was. I mean, you go from feeling like you're going to break a bone if you turn wrong to realizing, oh wait, I can smash into this other wheelchair and be totally fine.
Yeah.
um, but so the documentary was actually an effort to promote that sport in India after we introduced the sport to the hospital I was at in Delhi. And then from there, it was just figuring out, okay, how do we continue to push that even more? How do we go from introducing a sport to making a documentary about it to establishing, a peer mentor program to, making this something accessible worldwide. And that is what the organization that I now run, More Than Walking, its purposes.
So, for the viewers that don't know, I mean, I already know the answer to this question because I've been a part of the support group since 2018. Yeah, 2019, 2018, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But for the viewers that don't know, could you tell us what More Than Walking is and how they can be a part of that if they want to?
Yeah. So More Than Walking is a couple things, but at its core, it's a community of people living with spinal cord injuries and other related disabilities, sharing their stories as well as independent living skills on film. So we recruit volunteers. Doesn't matter if you've been injured 25 years or 2 weeks or whatnot. If you feel like you're ready to share your story to help others in that situation, share your insight, what you've learned, what you are learning, whether it's a philosophical point of view or physically what you're learning in rehab. We want to help get that out and share that with the wider world through online videos.
Right. And it's very helpful, guys. I can say that I've been a part of it. I've been to some meetings. I've done things with them. So it's very cool to be in a community where you don't have the same disability or different ability. Sorry, don't mean to offend anyone. But it's more of a will family, I should say. Get it? Will? Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. What do you love most about what you do?
I love the moments where I can just kind of burst people's bubbles, whether they're in a wheelchair or not. Basically say, look, yeah, you've just been paralyzed or you've just become a disability. Isn't this a great thing? I get excited when I meet new people because, who are injured, not because the injury is great or fantastic. No, it's a terrible thing. It's very difficult. There are so many challenges with becoming disabled in the middle of your life. But it presents enormous opportunities for us to make our communities better, to make our lives better, to really advocate for entire groups of people that we never had a connection to before. My experience was, in India, I woke up one day, I didn't speak Hindi, I had a different religious background, different nationality, but I walked in, I rolled into the rehab gym full of all these other people with spinal cord injuries, and we had something in common. And we could relate to each other, and we could advocate for each other, despite all the other differences that we had. And I really think that's the power of the disabled community. And I love sharing that, kind of mission drivenness with other people and getting them excited about that.
So would you say that is More Than Walking's mission?
Yeah, more Than Walking's mission is to, through the sharing of independent living skills of peer mentors and rehab professionals, to help people maximize their independence and to be active global citizens. So that last part of seeing ourselves as valuable contributors and advocates in the global community, I think is really important.
No, and I totally can relate to that. I mean, not having spinal cord injury, but just with having cerebral palsy and really getting into independence at the age of 21 from, to present. I can say it's a beautiful thing. The wheelchair is our leg, so to speak. So I definitely can relate to, being an advocate, all that good stuff. So, yeah.
And the other thing, just to quickly add, I love about what I do is, when I see people like you, Amber, who I've interviewed, continue to run with it and continue to get your voice heard, starting your own YouTube channel, getting your own show. That's exactly what we're trying to do, is to push people in that direction and really encourage them with that, no matter what their level of previous experience.
Yeah, well, I can honestly say it's a beautiful thing to be able to have that outlet to educate people on whether if you say disability or different ability or not, like what it is through my eyes. And not only that, to be able to be part of, the Soundview family and doing Sound Off, it definitely has, elevated me to want to do more things and be more educated and integrate the people that I've met along the way, and sharing your story and a whole bunch of others that'll be coming on to just inspire someone to just go out there and do it, so.
I will keep funneling people your way.
Great. I mean, I honestly would love it if, we all could do a Zoom one day that do the Corey, actually, who does the monthly Zooms. I would love to get us, all on and just kind of talk about how that came about, because I'm sure that probably might have been a quarantine idea, with us just sitting at home and not being able to do support group. What better way to do it on Zoom?
Yeah, no, definitely. Corey, who's our new peer mentor coordinator, and also he's a hip hop artist. He's a C4 quadriplegic, very talented father of 2, I think. I might get that wrong. But from Connecticut, and he's amazing, and we'll definitely get him on here.
Yeah, we definitely should. This definitely should be a part 2. Can you share a moment that you will never forget before or after your accident? And if you want to share 2 at the same time, that's fine.
A moment before or after my accident. Yeah, so an important thing to know about me and my story is I did extreme unicycling before my injury. So
and unicycling is, just in case for the viewers that don't know.
A unicycle is a bicycle that's missing one of its wheels. Okay. As people would yell out their car windows as I would ride my unicycle to and from high school. You get a lot of harassment being a unicyclist. People think that you're a clown or whatnot. But I was an extreme unicyclist. That meant that I went downstairs, I went to skate parks, I rode down mountain trails, all on one wheel. And that kind of love for extreme sports really helped translate into my rehab. And I just remember, so that's before my accident, something I love doing and I'll never forget doing. After my accident, my first day in the rehab gym, I went into the therapy gym, and the therapist, asked me what my goals were. And I said, unicycling. And he was like, okay, well, maybe you won't be able to do that. We have to be realistic. So I said, okay, wheelies. And he started crying. You don't usually you expect the patient to be crying, but he started crying as a therapist because he had seen so few patients who were excited about therapy, who were excited about what he was there to teach. And he was just so encouraged by it. And so I I remember that as part of my own recovery story because I think that's what that drives me is I want to give people that excitement. I want to help, through the videos that we edit and publish and the stories that we share. I want people to know that there's so much possibility and there's so much to learn and so many exciting new skills to learn. You know, rehab is like an extreme sport, in my opinion. So that's just one moment.
Right. That's really good. And, I can relate to when you said the therapist, was crying when you shared what you wanted to do. And, I had that moment happen to me, you know, um, a few years ago, when I said, I think I was just talking to my physical therapist in general about like when I grew up, because I think I was little, and I said I wanted to be a lawyer, and he goes, wow, like, you're not just, someone that's, down about their disability. And it's like, no, I don't try to be like that, because I feel like there isn't no dis in a disability. It's like, we're able to do things, just we may need a little more assistance than others. So that is what it is.
Yeah, no, there's many ways to do something, and I definitely knew that from my extreme sports background. You look at a railing or like a stairwell, and you're like, oh, that's a stairwell. But no, for others, it's that's a playground.
Right.
It's in yeah.
Well, we have 10 minutes, guys, so we're just gonna wrap this up as quickly as we can. So that brings us to the next question. If you weren't a CEO of an organization, what would have been your dream job and why?
My dream job before becoming CEO of an organization, which is my dream job now, I always wanted to be a filmmaker. I really believed that films have the ability to kind of put people in someone else's shoes for a prolonged period of time. Like when you walk into the movie theater, you watch a documentary, or you watch any kind of film, you become immersed in this alternate universe, right? You're no longer living your life. You're living the life that you're watching on screen. And there's a huge power in that to influence what we believe, why we believe things. And that can be used for good or it could be used for bad. And normally, it's most of the films we probably watch are escapism. We're trying to forget our normal everyday things. But, once in a while we can watch a film that really, shows the perspective of a group that we never thought about or that we misjudged or, or had wrong assumptions about. And so I wanted, before my accident, I wanted to make films like that. And I feel like I'm still doing that now, but with a more focused, target topic and target audience with More Than Walking. So,
right. Which that brings me to the next question. What is your favorite More Than Walking vlog, past, present, and why?
Oh, of course, it's the one by Amber Reese.
I would have to ask why, because there's so many that were great besides me that I would
asking
think
that question is asking a parent like what's their favorite child. I can't. Amber, your video was fantastic. I don't have a favorite. They're all my favorites.
Okay.
But I do have a favorite comment to a video. And the video that I'm going to mention, which is not my favorite, because I don't have favorites, is by a high-level quad on a ventilator from Massachusetts. His name is Jonathan Hobbs. He's a C2-3 complete quadriplegic. He was a surfer before his injury, and now he's a history professor.
Wow.
He's someone who never went to college, and then after his injury, decided to study history, to become an academic. But my favorite comment to any video is a comment to his video, and where someone said, I'm a C5 incomplete quad of 24 years. I did really good for 10 to 15 years, but after that, chronic pain got me down mentally and physically, which triggered depression. But you've inspired me to get off my ass and try to find something else to live for. Keep up the good
Wow,
work.
that's a dope comment.
So it's like that's the thing. That's what we're striving for. You never know um, who's going to watch this video, how long it's going to take, what the impact is going to be. And without going into super detail, I met my wife because I posted a demonstration video on YouTube, and 5 or 6 years later, she happened to see it. So you
You
have no
never
idea
know.
whose life you're going to change.
You never know what a vlog can do.
You never know what a vlog can do, and you don't need 1 million followers either. It's
Right,
just put
right.
it out there.
Well, we're down to the last two questions. I'm kind of sad. But what does more than walking mean to you in 3 words?
I could cheat and just say more than walking, which is 3 words, but no, I would say community, life, and purpose. And
Wow, that's good.
community because we don't exist on our own. If you're injured, if you're dealing with a disability, isolation is so destructive, so common, so powerful, but it's so untrue. We are not alone in this. There are so many of us, and we need to find community in order to advocate for each other. And
Right,
then life, because the way out isn't just joining a disability advocacy board. It's not just caring about disability related stuff. It's not just seeing yourself as only being able to choose paths related to disability or being defined by your disability. Your whole life carries this now, but it doesn't need to change who you are or what you do. And then, what was the third one? Purpose. That's right. With disability, and it's kind of the mission of More Than Walking is to help people see that they have a purpose and to have a way to contribute. As I mentioned, if you're newly injured, you still have a purpose. We want to make it possible for you, even if you have no film experience, you're not a YouTuber. We want to make it as easy as possible for you to share your story, make videos, put them on the internet, and help other people. There's no requirement. The only requirement is that you're willing to share. And I strongly believe that having that sense of purpose, helping others, will also help you, as you try to adapt and
right.
reconcile.
Well, I think helping someone so that it helps you, that goes hand in hand. But we have 3 minutes left, and last but not least, where do you see More Than Walking in 10 years?
So in 10 years, I hope that More Than Walking can grow its community from largely being just in the US to being more global, having participants in more and more countries and more languages. We have the goal of not only sharing interviews and demonstration videos, but also developing a course that would actually show what are the most essential skills that you need to learn after a spinal cord injury in rehab, so that we can go to places where people don't have access to specialized physical therapy and provide them these video resources that can help them progress, even without access to some of these specialized rehab facilities. So really hoping to see that happen, and just to get more access to hospitals, to newly injured patients. That's kind of what we're pushing for now. We have over 100 volunteers, over several hundred videos, and now we're striving to really get it in the hands of newly injured patients.
Well, that's great. That's great. And I hope that More Than Walking continues to grow. But this wraps up our show. Jonathan, it's always a pleasure seeing you. And guys, I just want to say thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Sound Off, Triumph Over Tragedy. I'm your host, Amber Reese, and that's it. Have a good night, guys.